All right, so this lesson here, we're going to be taking a look at multiplying and dividing fractions. But what we're going to do is we're going to start taking a look at just multiplying in general and just remembering what multiplying is. So when we're multiplying values, the second number always represents the number of times the first number is added together. So sometimes we can think of this as being repeated addition. So something like 3 times 4 would be 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. Okay, there's 4 3's, and this is a total of 12. Okay, so that's what that, again, what it means is that there are 4 groups of 3, and it gives us a total of 12. That's the way that we can think about multiplication. Now, remember that when we think about something in a practical way, like this would be a practical way, not just numbers, but actually how it works, we can get a better understanding of what we are dealing with. And hopefully that'll help us to understand how we go through things better. Now, when we talk about fractions are a bit more complicated as they're not necessarily what we would consider nice numbers. Okay, nice numbers are regular positive integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Fractions are not necessarily those nice numbers. If we have something like 4 times 1/2, okay, what that means is that what is half of 4? Okay, the 1/2 represents with repeated addition that we're only going to add half of 4. Okay, so what this is telling us, it's 4 times 1/2, so we're trying to find out how many groups of half of 4, or we're going to have one group of half of 4, which is 2. Okay, the previous example can be thought of logically. Okay, we can kind of think of that 4 times 1/2, so half of 4, which means that we get a value of 2. But other examples are a lot more complicated. So here we have something like 1/2 times 1/2, or what is let me just quickly switch pens here. What is 1/2 of 1/2? Okay, what is half of a half? To do this, we can go through there's a bit of a nice procedure to go through, or nice steps to go through how we solve that. So the first thing that we do is we want to make sure that both fractions are either regular or improper, no mixed numbers involved. This right here, not a mixed number, it's actually just regular fractions. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave it exactly the way it is, 1/2 times 1/2. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply both of the numerators together. Okay, so we're going to do 1 times 1, or 1 multiplied by 1, which is a total of 1. This is our new numerator. So when we equal it, we're going to have a 1 on the top. Now, the third thing we're going to do here is multiply the denominators together. This is the new denominator. So 2 times 2 is 4, and that becomes our new denominator. The resulting fraction must be put into simplest forms. This is simplest form as well. So that means that half of a half is a quarter. Now, if I show that to you on a ruler, let's see if that's going to work there. Okay, so this is half of an inch. Half of a half is a quarter of an inch. Okay, so we can think of it that way when we deal with inches as such in multiplication. So let's do a couple of examples. Okay, so example number 1 here is 1/3 times 1/2. And so again, we're going to go through this fairly quickly, not simply necessarily, fairly quickly, as multiplying fractions tends to be a bit on the simpler side for many people. 1/3 times 1/2. If you need more help, just ask me please in class. So 1 times 1 is going to be 1. 3 times 2 is 6. That's in simplest form. So that right there is our new fraction. So half of a third, so if we take a third and we cut it in half, that's going to be 1/6. 2/5 times 2/3. We're looking for what is 2/3 of 2/5. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 5 times 3 is 15. If we go through that, we cannot simplify that at all. This is as simple as it gets. And so it is 4/15. Number 3 here, we have 4/5 times 1/3. you will notice that, just as a quick little notice, this here is twice what this is, and this is half of what this is. So when it comes down to it, 4 times 1 is 4, and 5 times 3 is 15. We actually get the same value. So 2/3 of 2/5. Okay, so if we were to cut 2/5 into 3 pieces and take 2 of them, that would be 4/15 of a whole. And if we were to cut or take 1/3 of 4/5, okay, again, cut that into 3 pieces, but only take 1, it would also be 4/15. The last little example here has a bit of a tweak, and there's a box here that you'll be able to read as well that kind of goes along with it. But here we have a whole number. Here's the number 6. We want to find what is 1/3 of 6. So in other words, we're going to divide it into 3 pieces and then take 1 of them. Now, if we think of that, okay, if we have 6 of something and we divide it into 3, so I'm going to take 6 circles here, and I'm going to divide it into 3 separate pieces, and one of them should be 2 of them. So this answer should be 2. Well, let's work through it with our math using theory here. 6 is just a fraction of 6 over 1. Okay? So 6 over 1 is exactly the same as 6, and now we've just put it into an improper fraction. And just remember that improper fraction is still definitely okay there. We'll deal more of that on the next page. 6 over 1 is a fraction, and we're looking for 1/3 of it. 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. We can simplify this as we can divide both pieces by 3. And so this is 2 over 1, or 2. And that would be our final answer. That's what we came up with down here. Okay, we know that 1/3 of 6 is 2, so if we divide it in 3, and this where multiplying and dividing are similar. Okay, it doesn't always necessarily work that way, but we're able to do it. This is a bit of a one that we can look at logically, but this is how we come up with our answers. Multiplying fractions, multiply the top numbers together, multiply the bottom numbers together, and then simplify what we get. The assignment based on this video here is questions number 1 and 2 from your assignment.